Harper Green arrived in Ashford, Maine, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in blood-red hues. The town was small, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and everyone stayed far away from the old house on the hill. The Whispering House loomed there, its windows dark and lifeless, like empty eyes staring down at the town. Stories about the house weren't just rumors, they were warnings. Families who had moved in disappeared without a trace. Search parties found no bodies, no evidence, just silence. Locals whispered that the house wasn't haunted. It was alive. Harper didn't believe in ghosts. She didn't believe in curses or living houses. What she believed in was a good story, and the Whispering House was the perfect subject for her podcast. She parked her car at the edge of the long, overgrown driveway and stepped out into the crisp evening air. The town had been eerily welcoming, with locals who smiled too wide and warned her not to go near the house. But warnings only made her more curious. The first step onto the creaking porch felt like a test. The air shifted, colder now, and Harper felt an inexplicable weight pressing on her chest. She shook it off, reminding herself that fear was just a trick of the mind. Inside, the house smelled of decay and old wood. Dust motes danced in the light of her flashlight. The silence was suffocating. She set up her recording equipment, muttering notes into her mic. The Whispering House, she began, her voice steady. A place where fear has lived for generations. Tonight, I'll prove whether the stories are fact or fiction. The first night passed uneventfully. Harper slept on a cot in the corner of the living room, her camera rolling to catch any signs of activity. Nothing happened. No footsteps, no whispers. Just the groan of the old house settling. But the second night was different. It started with a faint sound, like someone softly calling her name. At first, she thought it was the wind. Then she realized it was coming from inside the house. "Harper." She froze, gripping her flashlight. The voice was faint, almost like her own voice echoing back at her. She called out, but no one answered. The whispers grew louder as the night went on, fragmented sentences, disjointed words. They spoke of things only she would know, her deepest fears, her guilt over losing her brother Nathan years ago, her fear of failure. Harper tried to ignore it, telling herself it was her imagination. But the whispers didn't stop. By the third night, Harper had started to notice time lapses. She would look at the clock, and hours would have passed without her realizing it. Footage from her cameras showed her wandering the house, murmuring to herself, her eyes unfocused. She didn't remember doing any of it. The whispers became voices, louder and more distinct. They taunted her, mocked her, told her things she didn't want to hear. "It was your fault Nathan disappeared. You came here for fame, not the truth. You can't leave." Harper began to unravel. She stopped sleeping, her mind racing with paranoia. The house felt alive, its walls closing in on her. The whispers turned into screams. She tried to leave, but every time she stepped outside, she found herself back in the house. The final night, Harper discovered a door in the basement she hadn't seen before. It was old, with strange carvings etched into the wood. The whispers urged her to open it. "Everything you want is behind this door," they said. Her hands shook as she reached for the handle. The moment she opened it, the whispers stopped. Silence fell, heavy and unnatural. Inside the room was a mirror, tall and cracked. Harper stared at her reflection, but something was wrong. Her reflection smiled when she didn't. The last recording from Harper's camera showed her standing in front of the mirror, whispering to herself, her eyes wide with terror. Then the screen went black. When locals checked the house days later, they found no trace of Harper. Her equipment was there, her car parked outside, but she was gone. And that night, the people of Ashford swore they heard whispers coming from the hill.